I'd lost count of the number of rooms I'd had and who I'd shared with, and that was just one difference. There were 1,000 others. I know, I replied diplomatically. I took some sun cream out of my bag and dotted it onto my face. Besides, I had 2 options for today, and I thought you'd prefer this one. And what was the other one? He rubbed a blob of leftover sun cream into my cheek. A visit to an animal shelter? How would you feel about us getting a kitten? I scanned his face, hoping for a positive reception to the idea. I'd always wanted a pet and had never lived anywhere where animals were permitted until now. Oh, Mary. Daniel's eyes shimmered with laughter. There's no way I'd trust you within 5 miles of an animal shelter. Why not? I asked, only half pretending to be insulted. Because you'd want to bring them all home. And instead of a kitten, you'd fall in love with a great big geriatric hound with halitosis and only 3 legs. Possibly, I admitted. He had a point. Those adverts about dogs who'd been living in shelters for years because no one wanted to adopt them broke my heart. It was a bit too close to home for me. It crossed my mind to point out that he'd just said I didn't need permission to do stuff, but as it was his house, he had the final say. But just so you know, I added, from that discussion, I'm taking away the fact that a kitten would be preferable to a dog. I'm starving, said Daniel, with a deft change of topic. Should we sit down here and have our lunch? Sure. I dropped my rucksack to the ground and sat down. My legs were aching from all that climbing, and I massaged my thighs and tilted my face to the sun while he unpacked the picnic. About getting a pet, he said, taking out several plastic tubs. I'd rather not, if you don't mind. I've just about got used to sharing my house with you, let alone anything else. I'm not a fan of mess, as you know. Was he implying that I was untidy, or that a dog would be messy? I wasn't exactly famed for my organisational skills. I glanced at him. If you've changed your mind. He cut off my protest by kissing the ticklish part of my neck below my ear. Not at all. You're a great housemate, and you make the best. He inspected a sandwich. Peanut butter and Nutella, I supplied with a gush of relief. Housemate wasn't the most romantic title I could think of, but at least I was great at it. He laughed, shaking his head. You make the best peanut butter and Nutella sandwiches in the world. Thank you. I needed to hear that. It made me feel less like I was imposing on him. He shared out the sandwiches, placing them neatly onto folded squares of kitchen paper, and I poured us both tea from a flask. Everything about Daniel was neat and tidy. I was grateful to him for making room in his house for me, and I made a solemn vow to myself not to jeopardise the arrangement by leaving my stuff all over the place. Moving in together hadn't been one of those carefully planned scenarios where 2 grown-ups talk about taking their relationship to the next level. It had come about because a few weeks ago, I'd left my job at Tractor World, clutching a small redundancy payout and a vague plan to turn my hobby of candle making into a business. I called it Merry and Bright, and I had lots of ideas for it, but it would be a while before I made a profit. I'll throw all my energy into it, I told Daniel, and if I can't make it pay in a year, I'll go back to having a 9-to-5 job. I love your determination, he'd said, and I'm sure you'll be a great success, but in the meantime, why don't you move into my house to reduce your outgoings? That had been a month ago, and now I was fully set up at Daniel's house, and he'd cleared out the garden shed for my candle making. It was a risky move, setting up a business instead of looking for another job, but I wasn't scared of risks. My best friend Nell was in awe. She couldn't believe I'd decided to do something so major, so quickly. And in truth, I'd have been in a bit of a pickle if Daniel hadn't been there to prop me up. But I had a feeling that starting Merry and Bright was exactly the move I needed. This is great, said Daniel now, indicating the view and the picnic. But I'll have to do some work tonight when we get back. If I don't keep on top of it, I know, I supplied. You'll be playing catch-up all week. Along with keeping a tidy house, keeping on top of things was his perennial concern. Daniel had an ambitious streak, and his plan was to open another store in the next town, and if that did well, another and another. My career ambitions were more modest.